Arizona basketball gets a 4 seed, and we are going to find out exactly where they are playing. We know that's called a tease.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke, locked on your team every day. All right, we got a special show today. Arizona is going to be a 4 seed in the East. They are in Duke's bracket, and guess what that means? That means they are going to play Akron in the first round. Now, Arizona is a 15.5-point favorite. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that Akron is good because they are not good. They played 2 good teams this year, and they were absolutely destroyed they were destroyed almost immediately by both of them. And the big thing that they have, too, is, yes, they shoot a ton of threes, but the big thing that goes against them is they are not a big team at all. Their tallest guy is 6'7", and this is a game that Henry Vasar should eat. This is a game where Arizona should eat down low, and not only should they eat down low, they should also be able to take care of basically everything. Again, this is a 15.5-point favorite, and when I say that they're a 15.5-point favorite, that means that there is no excuse for Arizona to lose. There's no excuse, period, whatsoever. And here's where I'm at, too, with this team. I think that right now you are kind of at the stage where Arizona, you take care of your own business, you're going to be good. I was more than okay with Arizona and the performance that they had in the Big 12 tournament against Kansas, against Texas Tech, and against Houston. We're going to talk about that and what that means here in a second. And also, we're going to talk about Liberty and Oregon and Duke as well. But the big thing, though, that we need to talk about here is Arizona playing good ball right now. Caleb Love has been spectacular. Now, listen, he wasn't perfect. There were some things that he left on the table, I would say, against Houston, but he's getting to the bucket and he's hitting the three. And when the three isn't falling, he is still getting to the bucket. That is the big thing with him. He needs to continue to get to the bucket. And if he doesn't get to the bucket, then Arizona's going to be in more trouble. But overall, KJ Lewis as well. KJ Lewis is playing the best ball of his career. He's been great. As a matter of fact, I think you need to start KJ Lewis. I think you need to put KJ Lewis in that lineup because, like against Houston, the problem is that ADO, and I like ADO, but the problem with ADO is that he was kind of a fish out of water in that game, in that the first part of the game was, the first half, Houston gets off to a really fast lead because they're going after ADO. And then Arizona comes back, gets a 5-6 point lead in the second half. Then Arizona in the second half, they give up all that lead with ADO in there. I don't know exactly what you do with ADO other than the fact that, like I said, he just didn't. I think you got to start KJ Lewis. I think, I get it. You want to stick with the rotations, but I think sometimes you got to make an executive order. And I think this is one of those times that you've got to basically just go with that starting lineup. I think you got to play KJ Lewis. Now, again, maybe you can get away with it against Akron, but in that second round, whether you're playing Liberty or whether you're playing Oregon, you can, I don't know that you can necessarily get away with that one. So I think that's a little bit of the issue that Arizona's got. Also, Henry Vasar, he has got to destroy Akron up front. There's no way around it. He has got to annihilate them, and I think that he will. I mean, again, Henry's big, Henry's fast, and Henry is dunking everything in sight. I think that's what's so exciting about Henry at this point is what Henry is doing and how he is going about dominating these games. It's an exciting thing to watch. It's exciting thing to watch what Mr. Henry Vasar is doing at this point. But again, when your tallest player that you play is 6'7", That's a recipe for you're going to shoot a lot of threes. Now, again, Arizona doesn't necessarily guard the three very well, but again, Akron just isn't that good of a team. So if you guard the three, Arizona should be able to be just fine because, again, Arizona also just has better players across the board. That's just kind of the way it is. I don't really know how else to put it. Arizona's just got better players across the board, and they've got to win this game. And you look ahead and you're like, okay, what could that next step be? And we're going to talk about that next step and what that next step could be here, because there is some interesting things that I think are a little bit underplayed in all of this. But first, got to talk a little bit about FanDuel, my friends. FanDuel the NCAA tournament is here. And again, the great thing with the NCAA tournament is it is a lot of fun. All right, here's the deal with FanDuel right now and what we like about FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Now, a great thing about it too is I love watching NCAA tournament games in the middle of it and saying, you know what, I'm going to go with that team or I'm going to go with that team. And, just kind of the vibe of the game, how everything feels. That is always a fun aspect for me in how these games play out. And that's where I think that this is, you can make a little bit of money. I think you can get ahead of the process there a little bit. Stays in the action. And again, it's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. That's a huge part of this too. You don't have to wait for a year. You don't have to wait for a month or for something to clear or anything like that. It's good to go. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long at FanDuel. Again, this is where you want to be right now because the NCAA tournament is here. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Locked on, your team every day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Now, Liberty, Oregon. I think Liberty is going to beat Oregon. That spread is only 4 points. I think Oregon is ripe for the taking. You watch Oregon, and I think the thing that continuously comes to mind is that Jackson Shellstad's good, but I don't look at anybody there and say that you can't handle them. TJ Bamba's not as good as Caleb Love. Up front, Nate Biddle, Nate Biddle's really good. But I'll take my chances with Henry against him. I think Henry's a better athlete. And then you've got a lot of guys like Jadrian Tracy. Kwame Evans isn't necessarily that guy. So we'll find out. We're going to see how this one does play out. I do think that Liberty is going to win this game. When you look at that point spread and you see that Liberty is only a 4.5 point underdog, you should be on FanDuel, by the way. That's generally somebody's way of saying, hey, you might want to hop in here. You might want to be able to get this one rocking and rolling. And with Liberty, think they can win that game. I think Arizona's going to get to the Sweet 16. And, after that, then obviously all bets are off. But I think Arizona's going to get to the Sweet 16 with a lineup and going through a schedule that is, I think, is fairly navigatable, if that's a term. Don't know if that's the term. But Arizona, I think, is in a good spot right here. And we're going to see if that does bear out. But I think that is going to bear out here in the spot that Arizona is in. So we will see how that one does play out. The other thing, too, is that the Wildcats, like I said, they're playing good ball right now. There's nobody, listen, like Milos Uzan is just, at this point, I think it's fair to just say that he is a tough matchup for Jaden Bradley. I don't know that there's any way else to put it. But Jaden is playing good ball. KJ's playing good ball. Caleb Love is playing good ball. Everybody's playing fairly well right now. And I don't necessarily get too bummed about what's going on like with a team like Houston, because Houston is just really, really good. Houston is on another level than Arizona. And I don't look at it and say to myself that, Arizona lost to Houston, so therefore Arizona isn't that good. I don't really worry about that. And I think that's something that, needs to kind of be at the forefront of all this, is that Houston is a really good team. Tech was down 2 starters, but again, they are a really, really good basketball team. And then on top of that, Kansas, I think Kansas is going to be able to. I think Kansas is going to win a couple games in the tournament. They are a good basketball team as well. But overall, this is a team where you're like, okay, this is a right now. I think that right now you're like, why can't they make the Sweet 16? I think they would be favored again. I think they're going to be favored, obviously. Well, they already are favored against Akron. They're also going to be, I think they'll be favored against Liberty or Oregon, whichever team that is. I think Liberty is scary, though. Liberty is a team where you're like, okay, you could be a little bit of an issue. So see how that one does play out. Now, the looking ahead, though, it also is going to be a little bit interesting as well as to how this all does play out, though, because there's an elephant in the room about the best team in the entire bracket that we need to discuss. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Now, let's talk a little bit about the team that the Duke Blue Devils. We need to talk about them. I think Duke, when they're fully healthy, is the best team in college basketball, and I'm not even sure that it's close, quite frankly. But Cooper Flagg went out with a bad-looking ankle injury. And yes, Duke is saying that he is good to go, but any school is going to say that he is good to go. And that's just kind of the way it is. I don't know that he's good to go, and if he is playing, I don't know that he's going to be that guy. I just don't. I don't know that I see that. He is a. He's a player that, is obviously a transcendent type talent, but Duke is not nearly Duke if they don't have Cooper Flagg as that guy. He is like I said, he's been a monster all season. He's the best player in college basketball. Points, rebounds, assists, you name it, he's got it. He's been that guy. He's been really, really good. But I don't know if he's not healthy, then they're much more defendable. Con Knipple is really, really good, obviously. But so is a Mulach, but Tyrese Proctor, but those guys can all, be dealt with to a certain degree. It's Cooper Flagg is the one player that is just kind of the, he's just the massive difference maker in all of this. And so with Flagg, you got to be able, if you're Arizona, you got to be able to contain Cooper Flagg. If you can contain Cooper Flagg, then you're going to be in pretty good shape if he plays. And that's why I'm saying, because again, I don't know how he's going to play, and I don't think that anybody really knows how he's going to play. And that's kind of what's interesting about this entire thing is with Cooper Flagg, you're like, okay, if you don't play, Arizona can beat you. And not only that, I think that Arizona also knows that they can get to the Sweet 16 and win. Now, if Cooper Flagg plays, then it's obviously a different story. But Arizona's kind of playing with house money at this point, and I think that's kind of the point you look at. They didn't look like they were going to be an NCAA tournament. They didn't look like they were going to be an NCAA tournament team. But I do think at the end of the day, you also do know that you're like, okay, where is Arizona? I think Arizona is going to perform just fine. And the thing about that I love about Arizona is that Arizona is tough. Arizona is a tough team that, that they don't really have any quit in them. And again, it's a pretty good team as well. And I think that's what's just kind of, exciting about this team is watching them. And you just know that, yeah, they're tough. They get past everything, and they've shown a lot of a gumption and stick-to-itiveness at this point, and I think you're going to continue to see that from this team. So, again, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Wildcats and how they are going to play. Akron is a great first matchup for them because Akron stinks, and, again, when you're a 15.5-point favorite, you don't, you're expected to win that game. And then after that, you'll probably be favored against who you play, and then from there on out, who knows? But you're going to take your chances, and then if you get to Duke, it is what it is. You're playing with house money. But from Henry Vasar to Caleb Love to KJ Lewis, everybody's playing good ball. March Trey obviously was not good against Houston, but let's be honest though. Houston is a team that is on a different level than every other team. They just are. Houston is a massive problem for about anybody, and that's something that you just got to be able to keep in mind. So we will find out, but I like how Arizona's playing. I think Arizona's going to get to the Sweet 16 bare minimum. Now I know a lot of people are like, well, they're not in the Sweet 16, or, Sweet 16 should be better than that, but this is also kind of a poorly constructed roster, so we will find out how this is all going to play out. But overall, the NCAA tournament is here, brand new season, and that is what the fun part about all of that is. We're going to be back with you tomorrow, breaking it all down. But as always, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down and back the A, and Locked On, your team every day.